Some moments in archaeology pivot on a single object. A find, often small and unassuming, that holds the concentrated worldview of an entire civilization. These artifacts are anomalies, Rosetta Stones not of language, but of belief. They challenge our assumptions about the past and demand that we see a lost world through the eyes of its creators. This is the story of such an object, a small piece of stone pulled from the earth of a forgotten American metropolis, bearing an image so powerful it would define a continent's cosmology for 1,000 years. Now let's open the archaeological record and resurrect the worldview of these ancient minds. Long before European contact, a sprawling city stood along the Mississippi River, a metropolis of pyramids, plazas, and people that rivaled London in size. This was Cahokia. Between 1050 and 1350 AD, it was the largest and most influential center of the Mississippian culture, a vast civilization of mound builders that dominated the American heartland. Its central pyramid, today called Monk's Mound, is a terraced earthwork larger at its base than the Great Pyramid of Giza. Tens of thousands of people lived and worked here, governed by a complex social structure, supported by intensive maize agriculture, and connected by trade routes that span the continent. But for all its monumental scale, Cahokia left us no written language. Its beliefs, its politics, its social order, all must be painstakingly reconstructed from the silent archaeological record. The city is a puzzle of immense proportions. And in 1971, during an excavation of the complex Monk's Mound, archaeologists unearthed a clue of profound importance. It was not gold. It was not a grand statue. It was a piece of fine-grained sandstone, small enough to fit in the palm of a hand. When the mud was cleared, a figure was revealed. On one side, a deeply incised crosshatch pattern, perhaps representing a serpent's skin. On the other, an image that stopped the researchers cold. A human figure, masked with the wings and talons of a raptor. He is part man, part bird. This was the Cahokia Birdman Tablet. This was not a doodle. The tablet was deliberately and carefully crafted, found in a context suggesting immense ritual importance, high on the sacred central pyramid. It was an icon. When we analyze this single object, we are forced to confront the central mystery of Cahokia. This city was not built on corn and trade alone. It was built on an idea, a powerful cosmology. The Birdman Tablet is not just art, it is evidence of a worldview. It poses the fundamental question, who was this being? What did it represent to the tens of thousands of people who built the city? This tablet is our entry point. It is the anomaly that cracks open the Mississippian mind. The figure's posture, its raptor-like beak, the merging of human and avian, all point to a complex set of beliefs about the sky, the earth, and the world of spirits. It hints at a social order where leaders were not just kings, but divine intermediaries, individuals who could traverse the different layers of the cosmos, just as a bird traverses the sky. This single artifact forces us to move beyond seeing Cahokia as just a collection of mounds and artifacts, and to instead see it as a living, breathing ritual landscape, a city built to reflect a sacred order. The Birdman was not an isolated figure. To understand his role, we must widen our lens from the single tablet to the vast symbolic language that connected cultures across the American Southeast. This was the Mississippian ideological interaction sphere, a shared ritual and iconographic system that exploded out of Cahokia. When we compare the Cahokia tablet to artifacts found hundreds of miles away, engraved shell gorges from Tennessee, embossed copper plates from Georgia, we see the same figure, repeated with striking consistency. He is always a hybrid, a human body, a raptor's head or wings. And often he is holding a weapon in one hand and a severed head in the other. This is our key. The Birdman is not a god of peace. He is a divine warrior. To reconstruct this worldview, we must understand the Mississippian cosmos. Based on archaeological evidence and comparative ethnography, with descendant indigenous nations like the Ho-Chunk, Osage, and Pawnee, we can piece together a tripartite universe. There was the upper world, a realm of order, light, and celestial power, symbolized by the sun, and crucially by birds of prey, like the peregrine falcon. This was the realm of the thunderers, divine beings who controlled rain and fertility. Below was the lower world, a realm of chaos, darkness, and water, populated by serpents and underwater panthers. And between them was this world, the flat plane of human existence, a constant battleground between these opposing forces. The Birdman, we believe, was the ultimate mediator. He was a being or a human who attained the status of one, who could travel between these realms. He possessed the intellect and form of a man, but the divine power and vision of the falcon. His role was to bring order from the upper world and impose it on this world. often by conquering the forces of chaos from the lower world. This is why he is so often depicted in combat, wielding a ceremonial mace. The severed head is not just a trophy of mundane warfare. It is a symbol of cosmic victory, of order triumphing over chaos. This worldview is, at its core, one of sacred conflict. This cosmology likely finds its narrative form in the widespread hero stories of the Red Horn or Morning Star. These oral traditions, recorded centuries later, tell of a divine hero who descends from the sky, leads his people in battle against monstrous foes, and establishes the ritual order of the world. The Birdman effigy we see on the Cahokia tablet is very likely a depiction of this hero. Or perhaps the original template for him. This was not just a myth, it was a political charter. How does a leader justify ruling over tens of thousands of people in a city like Cahokia? How do they command the immense labor needed to build a 10-story earthen pyramid? They do so by linking their lineage directly to the cosmos. The chiefs of Cahokia were not just politicians, they were shaman chiefs. They were the living embodiment of the Birdman, the earthly representative of Morning Star. When we analyze the burial record, this theory gains incredible weight. In Mound 72 at Cahokia, archaeologists found the burial of an elite male laid upon a cape of over 20,000 marine shell beads, themselves arranged in the shape of a falcon. He was quite literally interred as the Birdman. With him were sacrificed retainers and caches of exotic goods, arrowheads from across the continent, mica from the Carolinas, all pointing to his divine status. The Birdman cosmology was the state religion. It was the ideological engine that powered the entire Cahokian society, justifying social stratification and mobilizing the population for massive public works, ritual events, and warfare. The tablet found on Monk's Mound wasn't just a religious item. It was a symbol of this divine kingship, a badge of sacred authority. This sacred cosmology was the blueprint for Cahokia itself. The city was a physical manifestation of this layered universe, an architectural map designed to align the human world with the divine. The vast, flat Grand Plaza, a 50-acre space leveled by human hands, represented this world, the plane of human existence. The towering mounds like Monk's Mound were artificial mountains, ritual stairways that allowed the elite to ascend toward the upper world. The city's entire layout was oriented to key celestial events. We see this most clearly in the Woodhenge, a series of large solar calendars built of wooden posts, which mark the solstices and equinoxes, the very moments the upper world's order was visibly impressed upon the earth. This shared belief, personified by the Birdman, was the ideological glue that held this massive, diverse metropolis together. It gave purpose to the farmer turning the soil, the laborer hauling baskets of earth to the mounds, and the chief performing rituals on the summit. It unified tens of thousands of people, many of whom were likely immigrants drawn to the city's power and success. For a time, the system worked. The city boomed, its influence radiating outward. But a belief system so rigidly tied to cosmic order and agricultural success is dangerously brittle. What happens when the cosmos becomes unpredictable? What happens when the rains fail? Around 1200 AD, the archaeological record shows that Cahokia's golden age was ending. Its population began a steep decline. By 1350, the city was all but empty, its grand plaza silent. There is no evidence of a conquest, no single catastrophic event. The city simply failed. When we analyze the paleo-ecological data, we find a culprit: climate change. The stable, warm period that allowed Cahokia's agricultural boom gave way to the droughts, floods, and instability of the medieval climate anomaly. For a society ruled by a shaman chief, a living birdman, whose legitimacy came from mediating with the sky gods for fertility and rain, a multi-generational drought was not just a hardship. It was a complete ideological and political failure. The promises of the cosmos were broken. The rituals failed. The birdman and the elite he represented lost their mandate. The social contract that bound the city together dissolved. People simply walked away, abandoning the monumental architecture of a failed belief system. The birdman's legacy, however, did not die. As Cahokia's population dispersed, they carried his image and his stories with them, planting the seeds of this cosmology across the continent where it lived on for centuries. The Birdman Tablet is a relic of this human story, a testament to a powerful idea that built a metropolis, and a warning of the fragility of the systems we build on faith. The dust of Cahokia's plazas has long settled, but the fundamental human impulse it reveals the need to build our world in the image of our beliefs remains. When we hold the small sandstone tablet, we are not just touching the past. We are touching a universal and timeless human story, the story of our quest for meaning in the cosmos.